I think you can definitely be an artist that chooses not to view your work as political. But that being said, I think being an artist is already a radical decision. Making art and being a person that thinks creatively and brings things into existence through that power is inherently a political action. When's the last time we had a Basquiat or an Andy Warhol? It's the 80s, right? So now we have Banksy, and this is happening. I feel like the general notion of a public, people want art back. I think they feel like it's been hijacked by the 1%. My name is Esteban Del Valle, and I'm an interdisciplinary artist that works in several mediums and genres. I first discovered when I was an artist when I was very young. I found a love for drawing and just doodling in general. And of course, it was something that my family noticed and started to nurture in some way, but I found that anytime I discovered anything new, creatively, artistically, I was immediately attracted to it. So it was something that always interested me, but it wasn't until I was in about junior high where I came across a graffiti mural that really impacted me and made me specifically want to paint walls. I looked out the window of my mom's car and I just still to this day remember pointing at it and being like, I want to be able to do that. And then I was all over ever since then. I just started figuring out as much as I could about graffiti and about the history of it, the tools and everything, and I just kind of started drawing compulsively and then eventually started painting walls in high school pretty early on. When I was young and inspired by graffiti and hip-hop culture, clearly something about that drew me in. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized that it wasn't just about the aesthetic or the music, that one of the things I was really attracted to was how this creative energy was used to form community as well as to propel community. The way you could use a creative medium so informally, but it would become a platform for a larger conversation or for a larger expression. So the idea that a group of young people could get together and have a cipher always was something I was extremely attracted to. I used to participate in. I realized that what I was most drawn to is just the pure beauty of how creativity brings together people, and what was so nice about hip-hop and that whole subgenre in general was the informal nature of it, was that anybody could do it anywhere, anytime, and in fact it was encouraged to do it anywhere, anytime. And that's much more different than having a studio practice or your masters or these things that put you into structures of when and where and how creativity should function, as opposed to it being something that just is constantly underlining your life. So as I've been developing as an artist, it's largely about me reconciling my education with this original creative impulse that I was drawn to in the first place. I think one of the things that I've focused on a lot about that evolution in me, specifically in terms of how I've come to relate to taste in relationship to privilege and class. I've been thinking about themes of how do I design a mural that talks about gentrification, that talks about the exploitation of artists, the exploitation of artists to help gentrify, as well as the free labor idea that's been coming with the street art movement. It's great that we get to paint walls, but it's constantly this idea of like people are like, oh, you'll do it for free. For me, I understand the baggage of that. I understand what a piece is valued and what I'm choosing to sacrifice by doing a piece for free and whatnot. And I'm most of the time still very thankful for the opportunities I'm given, because one thing that's beautiful about this potential in this muralist movement is that frequently we're being allowed to paint anything we want. There's rarely any censorship, and if it is, it usually takes place after you've already made the thing and somebody has a problem with it. But that's the thing that I embrace, is that creative freedom to express myself without any strings attached. But I think as artists, we have to be very aware of not just our function in a creative capacity, but our function within economics and politically charged spaces such as Bushwick, which already has this conversation about gentrification and how the street art movement has helped contribute towards it. I think it's a wrong thing to always be pointing the finger at the artist, because then it gets abstracted, right? But more importantly, we should be talking about the fact that people had to come and invest and had to buy the property, and people had to then choose to move in. One of the things we can do in these public spaces is start talking about the conversation of like, well, what about the real estate companies? What about the people buying the property? What about the people that are moving in and have no desire to be a part of the community they just moved into? Like, there's plenty of accountability to go around. It's emotionally, spiritually, physically taxing because I am extending myself into each one of these things as with all my energy. I call myself like a goldfish artist in the sense that I grow to my space constantly. If you give me a small space, I make small work. If you give me a big space, I make a car. If you give me a wall, I paint the entire thing. Like, to me, it doesn't matter where I'm at. Living in New York has been more conducive towards me really diving into my mural practice. There's something about really trying to navigate what public space is in New York that just keeps me inspired, like as if it's the first time all over again. And I think that's, really a testament to the diversity of the space and the people in the city. Being able to paint in any wall in Brooklyn, just being able to paint constantly, there's like no shortage of opportunities because it's also street art and muralism. I see myself as part of like a revitalization of a muralist movement. It's such in a demand right now, and we're in one of the art capitals, but even more specifically, just like one of the best places because of the history of graffiti. So as opposed to waiting for a show opportunity to show a video piece or to wait for some gallery to come to me, I can just take to the streets and paint a wall. And I find that incredibly empowering. So it's not just my choice to be involved in that aspect of the Brooklyn and New York art scene. To me, I see as a position of radicality as well, saying like, why wait? Try to be the change you wish to see.